So I just filmed my May favorites video, but there were other movies and shows that I watched as well as a book that I read that I thought I would talk about in another video because they weren't favorites, but there are still things that I did. So I will first start off with the book that I read, which is Ted and I, A Brother's Memoir by Gerald Hughes, who is Ted Hughes' brother. I read a biography about Sylvia Plath in April, or I finished it in April, and it just made me more interested in getting to know Ted Hughes a bit more. They were married, and I've read like 3 biographies about Sylvia Plath, but I've never read anything about Ted Hughes, so I thought I got this from Book Outlet a while ago, and I just thought like this is something that I could start off with in terms of getting to know Ted Hughes a bit more. And I liked it. It's like a solid 3 out of 5 stars. It definitely is more of like a story telling the relationship between Gerald and Ted. It's not about Ted a lot, very much so about Gerald, and like they're not together that much. So it seems like Ted isn't that much a part of the memoir because they were apart for so much of their lives, which is, simply reflected in the narrative. But it did give me some insight into how Ted grew up and things that he thought that I had been so unsure about because I think he's painted very much as this bad guy in the narrative of like Sylvia Plath's life, and this really showed that he cared so deeply for her and cared so much about what happened afterward, and that's one of the reasons why after her suicide, it kind of seems like he and his sister, they were being really like meticulous and almost had a different sort of agenda for the way that people saw Sylvia Plath and saw Ted Hughes individually and then as a couple as well. And so I think it really helped me to understand more, but I also think that if I just read like a regular biography, or if there's some other kind of memoir by Ted Hughes himself, or an autobiography by him, that I could get more. That's all I really have to say about this. It's super short too. It's only a little over 200 pages. I think it was like worth the read, but it also was just like a first step into reading more about Ted Hughes. And then I will talk about the TV shows next. So I have 2, well, three. Three. I have 3. And so 2 that go together are Buffy and Angel, and this may seem weird because if you watched my favorite TV shows video, I included, oh my god, did I include both Buffy and Angel? Because I just kind of group them together. Like Buffy specifically, but I think I just tend to group the 2 shows together since they are both like, the Buffyverse, I guess. But I included at least Buffy, if not Buffy and Angel, together as one of my favorite TV shows. And that seems kind of weird to include a show that you haven't completely finished watching on your favorite TV shows list and then not have it in your favorites video for a month. Like, it's in this video, but it's like not a favorite. So that may seem kind of weird, but it's just because right now I'm season 5. I think I'm finishing up season 5 of Buffy. Oh, I just watched the season 5 finale before I started filming. And season 5 is my least favorite. It's my least favorite. I don't like Dawn. I don't care. Spoiler, I don't care if she's the key. I don't care about Dawn. Which sounds really rude because like Buffy cares about Dawn. And I care about what Buffy cares about, but I just don't care about Dawn. She's annoying, and I know that she's in the rest of the show, but I just like don't want her to be in the rest of the show, and I hope that, especially after everything that happens at the end of the season, like she's not a brat and like she doesn't completely take advantage of what has happened and like this life that she has, because she's not real. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't even necessarily know what's gonna happen now. Like, is she a key still? Is she just fully human? I'm not sure. Um, anyway, so with Buffy, it's my least favorite season, so it's not my favorite right now. I think things will change because I do know things that happen in this sixth season. But I'm really interested in seeing how it progresses to this point. I like how it was like, spoiler alert, Dawn's the key, but I'm not gonna like go into details about what I know happens in season 6. Yeah. And then also with Angel's kind of like hit or miss for me, but basically there's just like this plot line that's happening that I just don't care that much about. Angel's kind of a show that I like it when it goes together with Buffy, and I like it when each episode is just like an episode of its own and doesn't necessarily have like a storyline connecting like the second half of the season or something like that. Even though there always are plot lines that weave throughout the entire show and specific seasons, but I just am kind of on what's happening now. But I'm at the end of the second season with Angel, so with the third season, I know that things will be changing a bit, and they'll move on to some other storyline for that season. And then the other show on this list is 13 Reasons Why, the second season of the show. It's so... 13 Reasons Why is like such a touchy show to talk about. I watched the first season last year, about at the end of the month, like when it came out, and I was very nervous for it because 13 Reasons Why is actually one of my favorite books, and I reread the book before watching the first season, which I think was a good and bad thing because it made me, like, I liked going back and reading the book again, and it confirmed its like position in the list of my favorite books, but it made me really frustrated with all the changes that were made in the show, and so I don't think I really enjoyed, not that 13 Reasons Why is like necessarily a show that you would say you enjoyed watching, but I didn't really like the first season that much because I was just so caught up in all the changes that they were making and how they were trying to make it their own, which I can respect and appreciate, but at the same time, it's a favorite book of mine, so I wanted things to be more like the book. So I think with that being said, me not liking the first season that much, I think I like the second season more because I was able to just like accept everything that happened with the first season and like, okay, these are the characters and this is what's happening with them, and that's just what it is. Despite certain characters being different in the book and, things not existing in the book that exist in the TV show. I'm not sure exactly what to talk about specifically with 13 Reasons Why, but I did want to mention that I watched the second season and I liked it better than the first season, or at least, I don't know, maybe if I don't really want to rewatch the first season, but if I did, I wonder if, because I know the changes now, if I would be more okay with it, and so I just don't know if it's solely because of all the changes that they made, and that's really the reason why I like the second season better. It's hard to say. I think that no matter what they do, people are gonna have a problem with how they portray something or the way they handle something. It's just bound to happen no matter what. It happens when there aren't serious issues involved. So, especially with the first season being really successful and popular, yeah, of course, people are going to react in all sorts of different ways with the second season as well. I'm glad that we've, for the most part, like wrapped up Hannah's storyline, because now with things that happen in the show, I can even more like fully appreciate, like, well, not fully appreciate necessarily, but more so start to appreciate the characters more and see them like come into their own and see where their stories go. That being said, I'll just move on to the movies that I watched. I have 4 movies here. I'll just go with the order that I wrote them in. So, first we have Requiem for a Dream from 2000. This is directed by Darren Aronofsky. I think that's his last name. I didn't write it down. And then I realized I don't actually know his last name, I think. Darren Aronofsky? I think that's it. I'm going to go with that. And this was interesting. I read the book like last year. I meant to watch the movie and then I just didn't get around to it. I just wasn't in the mood for it, whatever. But I've watched it now and I don't know how I feel about it. I just don't know how I feel about anything on this list because they aren't favorites and they aren't favorites, but they aren't like nothing on here is anything that I like hated either. So Requiem for a Dream is about Harry and his girlfriend Marion and their friend Tyrone. Tyrone, I'm pretty sure that's his name. I read the book and I watched the movie and I don't even know for sure if that's his name. I'm pretty sure it's Tyrone. But they are a group of friends who get into drugs and selling drugs. And basically it's just like a collision course, them and the drugs. And addiction is really a theme throughout the movie because there's their storyline and there's somewhat of a storyline that Marion has. Well, I guess all the characters kind of have their own thing going on. But if I were to split the movie into like, or the story into like 3 different parts, it'd be like Tyrone and Harry, Marion, and then Harry's mom, Sarah, who in the book, that was my favorite part to read about. That sounds weird. It was my favorite part to read about. If you know what it's about, then you're kind of like, what? But when I was reading the book, I found myself less interested with what was happening with Harry and Tyrone and Marion and more interested with what was happening with Sarah. So the drugs are really evident with the 3 characters together. Because like they know that they're like taking drugs and dealing and things like that. Whereas with Sarah, she, addiction is a theme for all of them, but Sarah is, she wants to be on TV and she thinks that she's, I think it's a scam. I'm pretty sure it's a scam. Like someone contacted her saying that like they were sending her a package for her to fill out these forms so that she could be on like a TV show, kind of like a game show. And so she fills it out with all of her like information, and I'm pretty sure it was just a scam to get her information, but she keeps on waiting for like this confirmation call or like a letter in the mail saying what show she's going to be on and things like that, and she starts obsessing about being on the TV and like not being beautiful or like skinny, and so she wants to go on a diet, and then when she starts to go on a diet, but then she doesn't like it, and then eventually she just goes to taking like diet pills, but they're not really diet pills, it's just speed. So she has this addiction to speed, but she doesn't really like know it because she just thinks it's diet pills. Yeah, so like I was more interested in what was happening with her, and I think that rang true with the movie as well. I was more interested in what was happening with Sarah compared to the other 3 characters, but I do, seeing the visualization of it was interesting because of the way that it was directed. Like each kind of phase of their addiction, I guess, like became more intense and obviously like made the characters different in themselves because their addiction is growing stronger and they're maybe getting more tolerant of it and need to like up their dosage or whatever. Or with, I mean, a lot of the times with the three characters together, they like don't have any drugs, so then they start going through like withdrawal a bit. Uh yeah, but with the phases, like the camera starts to get like more intense. Like there are parts when like the camera's actually like I'm doing this as if my hand is the camera and it's like attached to my body so that the camera angle is like right in front of them, if that makes sense. Um yeah. And then there are other times when it just seems like everything's starting to like morph together and like the sound is weird. Oh, another thing I noticed too, I don't know for sure, I forgot to check on this, but the the movie was starting and it was going through like the opening credits, and I swear like the score sounded like, or maybe I don't know, the score, the soundtrack, it sounded like it was mixing, um oh no, what's the actress's name? Oh no, I'm forgetting the actress's name who plays Sarah. Ellen Burstyn, something like that. Yeah. Um, it sounded like her saying Harry, like cause she's Harry's mother, and so it sounded like they used a recording of her saying Harry and like morphed it and made it as part of the soundtrack or score, the music. I don't know if that's like a for sure thing, but like that's what it sounded like when I was like starting the movie. I was like, this music is interesting. Is she saying Harry? I don't know for sure. I don't know. That's a theory I have, I guess. I think with the movie, the way that it was made is more interesting than the story itself, or at least like the collaboration of the two. It's an intense film though, and especially with the way that it's made, and especially towards the end of the film, it really shows that. It's gritty and raw and disturbing and uncomfortable. Mhm. Then I have a couple like superhero movies that I watched. Spider-Man Homecoming and Wonder Woman. I had not seen these before and I just thought I would mention them. I don't know. I'm not a big like superhero person. Um, I don't think that the films are very memorable unless I'm thinking about something while I'm watching the film and then I remember that, and then there's like that connection to the film. Uh, yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't have much to say on it. I like Tom Holland as Peter Parker. It's, I don't know. I just feel like there's so many Spider-Man movies that it almost felt weird though too when I was starting the movie, because I was like, this is the first Spider-Man film that he's in, right? Like it was just so weird because it just started and we already know like how Spider-Man becomes Spider-Man. But I'm so used to like Tobey Maguire playing Peter Parker, and then I've only seen the Amazing Spider-Man. I've only seen that first one. I didn't watch the second one. It's just weird because there's other actors who have played the part like so recently too. That's all I have to say. And then Wonder Woman, I don't know. I just rolled my eyes, didn't I? It was okay. I just, I don't know. I guess I just don't really see the point, except that it introduces her character, but it doesn't, like, really, like, I don't really get the point, basically. Mm-hmm. I also don't think that it had much of, like, I just don't feel like anything happened, because it was just, like, her trying to get to Ares, and then that's okay, then she met Ares and then they fought and then it was the end. I know I already said this, but I'm like not really big on the superhero movies. As well as I prefer DC over Marvel, but like solely because of how much it's done with like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Like, cause it's so like dark, and I really like that, and I really like that, and just like the more recent DC films aren't aren't dark. There's just no. I just don't like it. I just wish it was more real and less like cliche superhero stuff. I want the characters to be characters, not just like superheroes. Um, yeah. Or supervillains, I guess. I guess that's the other thing. I'm much more interested in the villains than I am the heroes, now that I think of it. Okay. And the last movie that I have here is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So it was my first time watching that, and it was good. It wasn't great. I was watching, like, in the beginning, it all just happened because the Niffler got out of his briefcase, his suitcase, briefcase, whatever. Like, that's it. That's how, like, the character of Jacob, like, met Newt, and Tina was for some reason following him. Like, that's how it all, like, started. I just think it's, I don't like it so much when it's so circumstantial, I guess. And then I wanted more. I know that they're having like 5 movies total for the Fantastic Beasts series, but I guess I just wanted more with like more connection to the Harry Potter world. Yeah, I was more interested in how like Newt is connected to Dumbledore and like what exactly happened in his past and like who Credence is and what's going to happen with his character and Grindelwald and things like that. Things that have already sort of been set up or that we know more about because of the Harry Potter books or things that are on Pottermore. So, yeah. Maybe just because it was like the first in getting things like set up is why I thought it was like good and not great. I like getting to know like the creatures more and seeing more creatures than what's just in the Harry Potter series. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other good things to say because I definitely of these 4 films, this one was probably my favorite, but also that could just be because it's like Harry Potter world. So, also like Requiem for a Dream was well done, but it's not necessarily a movie that I would watch like over and over again by any means. So those are other things that I watched and something I read in May that aren't favorites, and I realized that I had a really hard time. I have a really hard time talking about things that I don't love or but I don't hate. I've noticed that. Especially if it's just sort of like okay and just like a solid okay. I see I can't even I can't even like describe what I mean. One more thing that I kept thinking when I was watching Fantastic Beasts is that I thought it would be really interesting because Jamie Campbell Bower plays Grindelwald like in the flashbacks in the Deathly Hallows in the Harry Potter movies. Like I don't know if it's part 1 and part 2, but it's at least one of the films, if not both. I thought it would be really interesting if they got Jamie Campbell Bower to play Grindelwald. Just because, like, it would work because the scenes that what's shown in the Deathly Hallows is before Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, like, takes place. So the character would be older. Alright. This was probably a mess, but we're gonna go with it, okay? We're just gonna go with it. So tell me what you think of these movies, and maybe I'll be able to, like, articulate more of my thoughts if I have, like, a dialogue. I actually take a lot of time with my comments when I'm commenting on someone's video or replying to a comment. So thank you for watching, despite this probably being a mess. And tell me what you think of these movies if you've seen them, the shows if you've seen those. I don't know that many people that have probably read Ted and I, a brother's memoir, but sure, if you're interested in Ted Hughes, maybe, yeah, comment something about that. Just comment. I just like comments and dialogue, which is why one of the reasons why I make videos. Yeah, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!